Hello, everyone. Welcome to WaveTalkers Live. Today is our special event, the DYFI special event for ShakeOut 2023. My name is Chris Mattia. My amateur radio call sign is Whiskey 6 Alpha Hotel. I'm joined today by Dan NR6V and David W0DHG. This is WaveTalkers Live. And today we are... Hey, Dan, let's mute you for a second. Hang on one second. Let me figure out where I've got that audio coming. Give me 1 second here. All right. Do I still have audio feedback? Doesn't sound like it. Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. Admit all.
Yeah,
all right,
I did not hear any feedback.
Oh, it was so then it was all just in my own head. All right, excellent. Yeah. That's good to know then.
And we are live on Winlink.
We are live on Winlink. We're live on YouTube. We're live all over the place. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be walking through the ShakeOut exercise, and we're going to be filling out a DYFI report together. Let me go ahead and pull Dan down here for just a second. And we're going to walk through just a few slides here today as we're getting started. So the core part of the exercise for us today is going to be sending in a DYFI, or a Did You Feel It report, and we're going to send this in via Winlink. The exercise is on the third Thursday of every October. It's called the ShakeOut exercise, and this year it's on 10/19, and the exercise takes place at the same time, so 10:19 a.m. local time, and we're going to use an exercise ID today of 2023 ShakeOut, and when we go to submit this report, we're going to CC in all caps Quake-23, and we'll talk more about that as we get into it, but we're going to walk through this whole process together in just a few minutes here. So why do we send this in? Well, as amateur radio operators, we sit in a very unique position where when a major event is going to takes place, we still have communication. Oftentimes, we still have our ham radios. We can connect to Winlink gateways that are perhaps either within the disaster zone, but still have connectivity, or we can connect outside of that disaster zone using Winlink, using either VHF or HF communications. And we provide excellent ground proofing information. Now, there are a variety of ways to be able to send in a DYFI. You can go directly to the USGS website and find a form. And if you're not a radio operator, that's a great way to go ahead and do this. But as radio operators, we're able to leverage the power of Winlink in order to send this message in. Now, a lot of people may be wondering, what is Winlink? Winlink is an email system that uses amateur radio, and it uses other radio frequencies such as shares and a variety of other different frequencies in order to transmit basically email information. So we're going to step through this ground proofing process of filling out the form, checking all the boxes as we get into this. So why do this? Well, the USGS uses these data to help identify where the earthquake has taken place, and it helps them to identify the intensity level of the earthquake. It uses the modified Mercalli scale. Dan, do you want to talk just a few minutes about what that modified Mercalli scale is?
Sure. We all are familiar with the Richter scale or the magnitude scale, and that is a measured number that represents the energy released by an earthquake. That number is the same regardless of where the quake is located. In other words, a quake in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, 100 miles below the surface, is going to have the same Richter scale as the same quake a mile below Los Angeles. Obviously, there are going to be very different damages done by those two quakes. So back in the 30s, they developed this Mercalli scale, and it has been updated over the years as new technology in terms of building materials, things like that have been developed. But the basic idea is that this provides a numerical rating based on the impact of the earthquake as opposed to how much energy was released. So that takes that question mark of where the quake was located out of the equation. And the rating, the Mercalli rating, is different for each location, which is why it's so important that we do these DYFI reports. And as a matter of fact, even if you don't feel a quake, it's just as important that you do a DYFI when you become aware of it, because that lack of damage, lack of impact is part of that Mercalli computation. So that provides USGS with information on where damages can be expected and to what extent. And USGS provides various people, like in California here, our Department of Transportation, Caltrans, that provides them with information on where they should start checking highways and bridges and things like that, where they should prioritize their efforts. And so it's really important that we do these DYFI reports. USGS trusts amateur radio operators enough that these automatically go into the calculation, whereas my understanding is that the internet forms go through a very a process of vetting before they go in there. So, and of course, Chris, are you going to talk about the donut hole, or do you want me to?
Oh, go ahead. You can talk about it.
Okay. Well, the USGS refers to a donut hole, and basically that's the area closest to the quake that they traditionally don't get any information from. You know, the idea that, oh, we haven't heard from the San Fernando Valley, they must be okay. Well, that's probably not a good guess. And so this donut hole is an area where typically they most need information, but in traditional means don't get it. And because we have amateur radio operators all around the world, we can provide that information, even though internet may be out, power may be out, we can still provide that information. So they find this very, very important because we can provide information that they just can't get any other way. So I'll send it back to Chris.
Thanks, Dan. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is so what are we testing? Well, today one of the things that as radio operators we're going to be testing is Winlink's ability to respond to this, the resiliency of Winlink, and how we can analyze some of these data. Now, all of the data that's being collected by the overall exercise is all going to the USGS. They are the agency that is responsible for collecting that information, processing it, and so forth. So all the data, no matter who sends in a DYFI report, is all going to the USGS. But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be sending our data in via Winlink specifically, and we're going to add a CC to a particular group, and that's going to allow a variety of other agencies, including FEMA, including a variety of different state agencies, several different RACES organizations, and various different emergency communication agencies across the U.S. are also going to be receiving the data that we're going to be submitting all via Winlink, and we're going to be able to live map it here on WaveTalkers. So you'll be able to see where all of these reports have been coming in. Now, I've been receiving all of the messages that are being sent out, and I've gotten hundreds hundreds and hundreds of these today, and we're going to be mapping all of those together here in just a few minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through sending in your DYFI report. Now, what you would want to do is you would want to, as soon as you feel an earthquake, or as soon as you have an earthquake is detected in your area, you're going to want to first do things like, do the stop, drop, cover, and hang on. Make sure that you're safe, make sure your family's safe, make sure your property is safe, and your neighbors are safe, before you then go into trying to send in a report. So first thing is make sure that you're safe and you're well taken care of here. Once you've been able to do that, then it's a good idea to make sure that your station is set up, you've got power, everything is kind of ready to go so that you're able to go ahead and send in your report. And that's what we're going to begin walking through here now at this point. So I'm going to switch over to my PC, and I have been downloading these reports pretty much all day here. And so I've got a telnet session running in a regular mode where it's constantly checking in the background for this. I'll go over how I did that in a little while, but first I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And I'm just going to do a quick check of a few things of my Winlink system to make sure that my Winlink is fully up and running and ready to go. And perhaps the biggest thing that you can do on a regular basis to make sure you always have the latest information is just to go ahead and quit Winlink. Just go ahead and close the Winlink application altogether. And then once it's closed, go ahead and launch the Winlink application again with a fresh launch. What this is going to do is Winlink, as soon as it's launched, is going to call in to the Winlink servers if you're connected to the internet, and it's going to say, hey, is there an update available to Winlink? And if it says yes, then it's going to prompt you, would you like to update to the latest version? Go ahead and update to that latest version. As soon as the update completes, it will then automatically prompt you if there is a new copy of the Winlink forms. And you would want to go ahead and update those as well. So you always have the latest copy of the forms and of Winlink itself. Now, a couple of other things to kind of check in on, especially today where there's a lot of traffic going in to Winlink, and we're going to be sending our messages via RF here in just a little while. So one of the things that you also want to check is you want to go up here to the settings menu, click on the settings menu, and down here where it says Winlink Express Setup, go ahead and click on that. And in the lower right corner, you want to make sure that you've got this first box checked, which is display list of pending incoming messages prior to download. That's going to give you the opportunity, if a lot of messages are coming into your inbox and you're checking this via RF or via radio, then any messages that are waiting to be downloaded, you'll be prompted before they just automatically download. So if you're in an emergency situation, if you're in an activation, you're in an exercise, this is a setting that you're going to always want to have checked on, because if you have a lot of traffic that's coming in and you don't necessarily need all of that traffic, you don't want to be sucking up the bandwidth of all of the other operators that are trying to use the system at the same time. We are dealing in a world where there is a limited amount of bandwidth and time, especially during a major incident, such as today's ShakeOut exercise. So with that clicked on, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hit update. And so now anytime I go to check my mail, it's going to prompt me if I would like to download the messages. And let's do a quick check of that. So I've got my, in the upper right corner here, I've got mine selected to Telnet. I'm going to hit open session and I'll do a quick check of this. I'm just going to hit start. And if the demo gods are with me, see, I've got quite a few messages that are coming in here, but they pop up a little window that's saying, hey, are you sure you want to download all of these messages? Well, because I'm doing this over Telnet, it's okay. Telnet is using the internet, but I don't necessarily want to do all of that right now. So I'm going to click the deselect messages. And if I only wanted one of these, I could say, okay, this is the one that I really want right now. And then I can click the download the checked messages, and it'll just pull that one down because that's the important one right now during an exercise, during an event that's going on. So that is a key thing to make sure is set up on your Winlink before you go and try and fill out the DYFI report and try and send any traffic. I'm going to go ahead and close that session. And we're going to also walk through a couple of the settings here that you may want to have set up on your system in order to send via RF. So here where it says open session, I'm going to click this drop-down menu here. And these are at the top, these are the Winlink gateway session types that you're able to choose. Telnet is the one that uses the internet. So if you haven't set up your radio to talk to your computer, Telnet is the option to be able to use. It will send the message out via the internet. But we also have Packet. This is a VHF UHF version of Packet. Next, we would have Pactor. This requires a Pactor modem to be able to send. This is going to send primarily via HF radio. There's a robust Packet Winlink. It's an HF version of Packet. RDOP, also an HF version of Packet. VARA HF, this is perhaps the most common long distance. In order to get your message outside of the donut hole, VARA HF, it requires the VARA modem, which is a free download. If you have a license for it, it increases the speed up to be comparable, if not faster, than Pactor modem. It's a great protocol for being able to use. Next down on the list would be VARA FM. Now, a lot of the RMS gateways or the radio message server gateways that are going to be local to you are more than likely going to be VARA FM gateways, or they're going to be Packet Winlink gateways. We're going to send today's message. We're going to send it via VARA FM when I go to do that. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to go in very quickly into VARA HF. So just so we can get a look at some of the setup and the options that you would have for sending a message via VARA HF. And to do that, all you would do is select VARA HF, click on open session, and it's going to open up a couple of windows. First of all, it's going to open up the VARA FM or the VARA HF application. And if you have not set this up, you're going to go online, just search for VARA HF, and you can find the website and go ahead and download it. In the settings section for that, there's just a couple of simple settings under VARA setup. My VARA settings look something like this. If you've registered it, you would have your call sign listed here and your registration key. And then a few options down here at the bottom for you to be able to select. I'm going to go ahead and hit close for that. We'll come back up here to settings again, and your sound card settings. This is perhaps one of the places that most people kind of get hung up a little bit when they're trying to set up VARA. You want to make sure that your device input and your device output are set to the USB input for your radio. If you're using a radio such as the ICOM 7300, the 705, a lot of the Yaesu radios all have USB ports on them, and you would just select the device option for that. There are a variety of other device connections, such as Signal Links and DigiRigs and a variety of others out there. They all have their each protocols. So you would select those in here. And we're going to go ahead and close that. So that's your VARA HF settings. I'm going to leave that window open. This is what the main VARA HF Winlink settings looks like. And what you're going to do in here, I'll click on settings, and there's two sets of settings. The first is VARA TNC setup, and those look something like this in order to send your message. And go ahead and close that. So this is pretty much defaults here for most of the settings. The next option here. Excellent. Thank you so much, Dan, for letting us know. We're going to come back to these VARA settings, but clearly 1019 local has just happened here on the West Coast. So I'm going to close all of these different options here, and let's step through the process of sending in our DYFI report for that earthquake that just happened, that simulated earthquake. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here in our toolbar, and we're going to click on the new message button. That's going to open up a brand new message for us. And here at the top where it says select template, go ahead and click on the button for select template. And it's going to open up your template manager. Now, as of today, the current version of the templates, the standard templates, is version 1.0.245.0. You're going to click the little plus sign next to standard templates, and you're going to come down here and find the USGS section. Go ahead and give that one a click. Now, there's 3 versions of the form. There's a version of the form that is in German, there's a Spanish version, and there is an English version. We're going to choose the English version today, the USGS DYFI.txt. Just go ahead and give that a double click. And what that should do is it should open up your web browser of choice. And we're going to step through the process of filling out this form. This is the DYFI report. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come in here at the top, and the first question here is this earthquake report, and we're going to select exercise because this is an actual exercise today. It's a global exercise. You're going to see that here in just a few seconds here. Optional exercise ID. For the exercise ID, what we're going to put in here is 2023 ShakeOut. 2023 ShakeOut, and that is in all caps. There's no spaces within anything. The next thing, did you feel it? This is a required field. Yes, we're going to say yes. We all felt this earthquake. The time of the earthquake. Now, normally, if you click into this field, it's going to automatically put in your computer's current date and time. So it's going to plug in right now 10/19/2023. If you're watching this later on, then make sure for filling out your ShakeOut report for today for this particular exercise, make sure you fill in 10/19/23 if it's not already filled in. We'll say okay. For the time, we're going to go ahead and click on the time and see how it's currently set the time to my computer's current local time. Well, again, for today's exercise, we're going to edit that. We're just going to click into this field, and we're going to take off the 22 or whatever time, and we're going to say this occurred at 10/19 local time. We'll say okay for that as well. Next down here is your location. And this is really important because this location information is what the USGS uses in order to map your check-in. So I'm going to put in my street address, and I'm going to put in the address of 1363 Spinnaker Drive, Ventura, California, 93001. Now, for my latitude and longitude, if you have a GPS connected to your computer that you're doing Winlink on, it should automatically fill this in for you. But I don't have a GPS plugged in, and I don't know what my GPS coordinates are for where I'm at right now. So an easy way to find this, if you don't know, I'm just going to press Control T on my keyboard to open up a brand new tab, and I'm going to go to maps.google.com, and that's going to bring up a copy of Google Maps for me, and I can just swipe down here and find where my location is. So kind of zoom around. I'm down here at the marina. I'm going to go ahead and click, and in order to drop a little pin there, and you'll see down here in the bottom, it's created what those GPS coordinates are. So I can just select that right there. Let me just make sure I got just those GPS coordinates selected. I'll select it and press Control C to copy that to my clipboard. And then I'm going to go back over to my DYFI tab here at the top. And here in the latitude field, I'm just going to go ahead and paste Control V to paste that in. Now, it's put both of those values in the latitude field, but that's okay. I'm just going to hit the tab key on my keyboard, and like magic, the form has automatically parsed that those GPS coordinates, and it split them into the proper fields. How cool is that? Very cool to be able to see how that works. Okay, so that is the general top portion of the form that everybody needs to be able to fill out. The next section down here, this is where the ground proofing information all comes into play. This is where ideally you would take your form and you would walk around your house and you would check for all this information to make sure your property is safe, but also so that you can go ahead and provide real information to the USGS about the particular exercise or about the particular earthquake that just took place. Now, for this exercise, for ShakeOut 2023, the USGS has asked people to fill out their form so that they get at least a level 5 earthquake on the Mercalli scale. So we're going to walk through filling out this form in order to be able to achieve that level. You can choose options that are higher than what I select here, or you can just choose the options that I select in order to fill out your form, and all of your data will go in properly. So let's start walking through this together. The first question is, what was your situation during the earthquake? And for this, I'm going to say, you know what? I was inside of a building. We'll just check that one right there. Notice these are radio buttons, so we can only check one of these, but you can select other and you can give them a little more descriptive information. The next one, if you were inside of a building, what floor were you on? And I'm going to say, you know what, I was on the 2nd floor, because that's going to impact about how I'm feeling this earthquake here. If you're inside of the building, how tall was the building? Well, the one that I'm in is a 2-story building, so we'll go ahead and select that option right there. Were you asleep at 10:19 in the morning? No, I was not asleep. So we're going to say no for that. These will tell whether or not an earthquake was enough to wake the typical person up out of sleep. So if you were asleep and then it did wake you up, that would be some really valuable information. The next one, did others nearby feel it? So you're going to say yes. Everyone or almost everyone felt it. An earthquake of a level 5 intensity, you're definitely going to feel that. The next question down here is, how would you describe the shaking? And for this one, we're going to say strong shaking. You can say violent if you want it, but strong will get you up to the right level. And you will know when you're inside of an earthquake, if you've never experienced an earthquake, the whole world really does kind of move around you. It's a very odd kind of feeling. How did you react? Well, in this case, I reacted with quite a bit of excitement. You can see on that newscast that Dan just played for everybody, when that earthquake went off, there was quite a bit of excitement that happened as the sensation kind of rolled through there. And the next one is, how did you respond? Well, the right answer, and this is what everyone should be doing, is drop and cover from the earthquake. This is the kind of typical thing. I grew up on the East Coast, and so we didn't really have a lot of earthquakes that were going on there. When I moved out here to the West Coast, all of a sudden I was like, wow, this is something that you guys all do. And when an earthquake does go off, you'll notice that people do. They drop, they cover themselves, they hide, they get underneath of some sort of a structure in order to make sure that they're covered, so any debris or anything that's falling is going to not injure them. Was it difficult to stand or walk? We're going to say no on this one, but you could say yes if you think it was a little difficult to be able to do that. Did you notice any swinging or doors or other free objects? And we say yes, there was some slight swinging. Now, the first time I was in an earthquake, after I'd moved out here to California, I had been living on my boat for a while, and so the sensation of the movement I didn't really notice that, but all of a sudden I noticed all the lights in the room were just swinging back and forth out of just nowhere. It was the craziest thing, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I wonder what that's going on. And everybody's going, there's an earthquake, you idiot, get under here, hide out of the way. I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. The next one, did you hear creaking or other noises? Yes, there was a loud noise. It is remarkable when an earthquake kind of rolls through your area, when you hear it, when there's this rumbling or this cracking sound or there is an actual audible sound that you're able to hear. It's really pretty fascinating when it goes off. Did objects rattle, topple over, fall off shelves? So we're going to say that they rattled loudly. You could say that a few of them toppled over. This can be a little tricky because you really do need to kind of walk around your house and look and see what is out of place. Are pictures hanging off the wall? That's the next question. Did you notice stuff that kind of fell over, and did you hear any of that kind of rumbling that took place when the earthquake went off? Did pictures or walls move? Did anything get knocked askew? We're going to say yes, but they didn't fall. This is another one. As you walk around your property, you will oftentimes notice that a lot of the pictures are kind of just a little bit askew, not quite in the right place. You might think it's a little NQR, a little not quite right as you walk around the house. Did any furniture or appliances slide, topple over, or become displaced? So for this one, we're going to say no on that, but you could say yes. A few weeks ago, we did a live show, and there was an earthquake that took place in a neighboring town up in Ojai. And we had an operator who was on the show with us, and they said, yeah, it actually did move some of the furniture around in their house when that happened. Was a heavy appliance like a refrigerator affected? This can be pretty interesting when something like this happens. So we're going to say no for this. But in that earthquake that happened up in Ojai a few weeks ago, the operator said that it actually moved some bookshelves full of books and was able to slide them across the floor. It moved their refrigerator and slid it out just a little bit. Those sorts of things are really indicative of the intensity of the earthquake as it's going off. The next one, were freestanding walls or fences damaged? In this case, we're going to say not specified, but this is something you definitely want to take a look around your property and look for. You also want to make sure that you're checking out your gas line. If you have a gas line, make sure that is secure. It's always a good idea to have an emergency gas shutoff wrench right there. Have it attached to your gas line if you need to shut that gas line off in a hurry. That's a very good thing to be able to have at the ready. The last question here is, was there any damage to the building? And again, this is something you want to check on a regular basis, because oftentimes cracks will suddenly just appear after an earthquake that you hadn't noticed before. So you want to get in the habit of doing a walk around of your property on a pretty regular basis so that you're really familiar with the state of your property. In this case, we're going to say hairline cracks in the walls, but you can increase that to some of the other options that are there. Okay, there's a section here for additional comments. Now, in the additional comments section, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to list out any of the groups or agencies that you're operating with. So in my case, I'm going to add WaveTalkers. And I'll put a comma here, and I'm going to add the other agency that I operate, which is Cal OES in there. But if you have other agencies, your Aries team, your ACS team, your RACES team, your Oxcom team, your state agency that you operate with, hospitals, go ahead and list those in here. That information will be transmitted in. So that is all the information that needs to be here in the form. When you click the submit button, what should happen is you'll get a little pop-up here inside of your browser, and it's letting you know from this form, from the data that you just filled out and that you're submitting, this is going to do a quick evaluation, and it's going to say, you know what, in this case, the report that you've just submitted here, or that you're about to submit, would be a level 5 on that Mercalli scale. So that's what we were trying to get to, and that's what we achieved. So we're going to say continue. And then it looks kind of weird here because the browser window just went blank. It's not really giving us any feedback. But if we close our browser window at this time, what you'll find is if you go and you make sure you have that Winlink message opened up, here is all of those data that you just filled out, all of the data that we're going to submit here to the USGS. And there's one more thing that we need to do, and this one is really important. Here in the CC field, we're going to CC, and this is going to be in all caps, Quake, QUAKE -23. And what this is going to do is this is going to send a copy of your report, not only to us here at WaveTalkers, but it's going to send it to a variety of state agencies. It's going to send a copy to FEMA. It's going to send a copy to a lot of the partner agencies that are all participating in today's shakeout by sending it to this one address. Now, why wouldn't you want to send it to just everybody, just list a whole bunch of these? Well, what happens when this message goes out is all of those different groups are getting additional copies. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want to flood the overall Winlink system with unnecessary traffic today, especially with so many reports going out all over the place. But this is going to send it out. Now, if you would like to get a copy of the form yourself, it's a fine thing to put a semicolon, put in your real world email address, and you will get a copy of your own form. You could also, if you did have maybe your local Aries group, you want to make sure that they're getting a copy of it. You could add them to it as well, but make sure you add that Quake-23. That's the really important one to be able to add. All right, that's all I need to fill out on this form. So I'm going to click the Post to Outbox button, and you can see here my outbox now has one message sitting at it. And so what we want to do is we want to send this message in via RF if possible today. Now, it's okay to send it via Telnet, send it in via the internet. That's perfectly fine. But part of this exercise here is for us to be able to practice sending our traffic via RF. So I'm going to click Open Session. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to try and send this via VARA FM Winlink. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and hit the Open Session button. And what that's going to do is it's going to open my VARA FM application, and it's going to open my VARA FM Winlink session window. Now, I have my radio already attached to my Microsoft Surface here. And because I'm going to send mine in via VARA FM, VARA FM doesn't have the ability to have cat control over your radio, which means I can't automatically just have it set the frequency for me. So I need to make sure that my radio is set to the correct frequency. Now I'm going to send it through my particular gateway, but let's say you didn't know which gateway you're going to send. What you can do is you can come up here to channel selection. And if you haven't updated in a while, you might need to update via internet. And then this is going to show you in order the closest to the furthest away Winlink gateways using this particular protocol to your particular location. So I'm going to send mine through this W6AH-10 RMS gateway. I'll go ahead and click on that. I'm just going to double click on it, and it's going to set up some information here for me. It's going to set the frequency that I need to set my radio to. So I've set my radio now to 145.030. The frequency that you select is going to be different depending on the gateway that you're sending it to. So everything is all set up here. I can just go ahead and click the start button. And if the demo gods are with me, you'll see my VARA session over here kind of start up a little bit. And my radio is keying up and it's trying to send this traffic right now. It's going to connect over to the gateway. It looks like it's already made a connection to the gateway. You can see down here in the bottom of the window, it's got that connection. We're seeing the data kind of going back and forth here a little bit. And you can see that a lot of that traffic from earlier, remember I said that we want to make sure that we're only seeing the traffic that we want to download. You can see there's a lot of messages that are going to be waiting for me. I'm going to download those via Telnet. I'm not going to download those via RF. So we should get that little prompt here in a second. There it is. And so I'm going to deselect all of these messages because I don't want to use up all the bandwidth for other operators that are here. So I'm going to deselect all of those and say download checked messages. And so just that one message is going to send out at this point. And so that's really the whole process of being able to send this traffic. You can see it's still kind of going out here. And we should see here in the window, we should get a little notification that lets us know that it has completed when it's all finished. It does have to say, hey, I'm not going to download all of these other messages here briefly. So we'll let that connection kind of run its course here for a few seconds. And then I'm going to go back to downloading all of the messages via Telnet so we can start to map these and you can get a sense as to what the USGS is actually getting with all of these data. Your session probably will not take this long to send this message since I'm on the list of getting all of these messages. My inbox is a little bit on the flooded side right now today. While that's sending out, Dan, a little while ago, I know you played that video. But you had another job with your ACS group that you were doing. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. We have had a difficult time with notification systems getting quick notifications to our members. We use a system through the city of Los Angeles. And when we did the notification for Hurricane Hillary last month, it took up to 90 minutes for people to get notified, which is obviously totally unacceptable. So I was thinking about how we could make that better. And Winlink came to mind. And so I started playing with it. And what I did was I created a Winlink group, an email group that consisted of all of our members, the email to text address for their cell phone numbers. And I put that all into an email group. And this morning at 10:20, I sent an email to all the members of that group. And obviously we'll have to see how it worked. But so far, I've queried about 3 or 4 people and everybody got it within a minute. So, Chris, you want me to show you what I did?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'm still trying to reset my setup to kind of get all of these messages downloaded.
Yeah. So let's do this. Okay, so to create a group, an email group, all you do is go to settings. Let's see here. And you want to come down here to group addresses, and that'll bring up this screen here. And if you want to create a new group, you click add group, you name the group. So WaveTalkers. And then all you do is you enter the email addresses that you want to use. Now, those can be Winlink addresses, NR6V. They can be traditional email addresses, dan@nr6v.com, or they can be email to text addresses. And we'll show you in a minute how to do that. Now, if you already have a lot of these people in your address book, you can simply click select from contacts, and that will give you all of your contacts, and you can select from them, or you can just type in the address here and enter a carriage return after each address and create that contact list. And then all you have to do to send to everybody in that group is in the to box, put in the name of your group. So that's really pretty cool. So how do you come up with the email to text address for your members? Well, the 2 pieces of information you absolutely have to have is their cell phone number and who their carrier is. And there actually is a website that you can go to if you don't know the carrier that will give you the carrier for a particular phone number. But assuming you have the 2 pieces of information that you need, there's a handy tool in Winlink. And let's go ahead and we'll create a new message. And of course, it's opened on another screen, so we'll bring it up here. You want to go to select template, expand standard templates, and expand your general forms. And in that group is a form called a quick message. And if you open that quick message, it will open up. And again, it's opened in a different screen. So this is the quick message. But the neat thing about this is built into this is an automatic generator for that email to text address. you just enter your phone number here. You select the carrier. I don't know whether I can create a fake number, but we'll do that. We'll select carrier, say AT&T, and all you do is click to add SMS, and there is your email address that will generate a text from a message sent to that email address. So you can go ahead and do that in order to create the messages. What you'll find if you've got a large number to do is that you'll start to remember what the alias for each cell phone provider is. In the case of AT&T, it's mms.att.net, and all you do is put the phone number in front of the @ symbol, and that will generate a text. So it's pretty easy to do, obviously a little time consuming. I had the advantage when I did this that the existing system that didn't work very well for us did allow us to export the numbers. So I was able to start with a spreadsheet of numbers and just move those into Winlink. Still took a bit of work because it was a manual process. But like I say, we'll do, we use Groups.io for our communication with our members. In the next day or so, I'm going to create a poll, and I'm going to ask the members, did you get the text alert? And if you did, when you got it, so we can see how well it worked. But like I say, we had, I've got about a half a dozen members who've reached out to me, and they all got the message either in the same minute that I sent it or within a minute of that. So, so far, I'm pretty happy with that. Once you've created your contact group, it's really easy to do this process. And by the way, it's easy to edit that group too. You can add or subtract email addresses simply by editing your original group. So that's it, Chris, unless you can think of something I missed.
No, that's good. Thanks a lot, Dan. Let me bring my screen back up. And so in the background, while Dan was walking through that, such an incredible use of Winlink to be able to notify your team using both text messages, email, and Winlink messages from a single message to be able to send that out. Because of being able to send your traffic out via tools such as VHF, UHF, and really HF, so you can get your message outside of the area, connect to another gateway somewhere else that still has connectivity. It really empowers us to be able to help support our local communities, provide information, provide real-time data for what's going on down on the ground. So while Dan was kind of going all through that, I've been downloading in the background via Telnet. And you can see I just hit download again, and there's more messages that are just coming in. These are these DYFI reports that are coming in to that Quake-23 address. I'm one of the people, the WaveTalkers group is one of the people who are receiving these messages. And I just want to take a quick second and walk through some of the ways that we're able to use these data. And this is a feature that's just built into Winlink, and it can work for your local exercises, your local emergencies that you may have for your own group. So anytime you receive forms into your inbox inside of Winlink, you're able to map those using built-in tools. Now, there are official tools for the USGS where all of the data, not just the Winlink data, is all being pulled for this DYFI exercise. And you're able to go onto the USGS website and you're able to find all of those data that are there. But what we're going to be looking at right now is just traffic that has come in via Winlink exclusively. And these are all messages that have been sent to this Quake-23. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click here in the toolbar. I'm going to click on the little globe icon. And it's going to bring up this maps and CSV, KML files and forms. And in the select from this first field here, we're going to click the drop down menu. And you can see these are all forms that I have received into my copy of Winlink. And it populates all that information for us. But since I'm one of the people who received these DYFI reports, I'm going to select the DYFI map right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I can set the map provider, and there's a variety of ones that are in here. You can choose whichever base map that you would like to use. I'm just going to use the Google map for default. There's some form management if you would like to control the forms that are coming in. I'm going to show you how to use the filtering feature here inside of the tool. You can also export the form data directly from here. So let's say you're at an emergency operations center or you're at a partner agency and they have a GIS specialist and they would like to be able to import all of the data that you've received through Winlink and import it into the incident's overall mapping system. You're able to do that and provide those data directly from here. But down at the bottom, I'm just going to click on display the map, and I'm going to let's just blow this up to full screen. So all of these pins, let me pull myself off the screen here a little bit so you can just see where all of these DYFI reports have been coming in throughout the globe. It's been really fascinating to watch because this ShakeOut 23 exercise is really meant to be for 10/19 your local time. So throughout the day, as the time has kind of progressed forward, a lot of these reports have been coming in throughout the day. And when 10/19 East Coast time happened, you saw this East Coast just light up with all of these pins that just started to show up. And then 10/19 Central time and the Central time zone all just lit up with all of these check-ins that were coming in. Likewise from Mountain time and now Pacific time. So I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit on this map and just kind of give you a sense of the check-ins that are coming now. In order to pan around one of these maps, I'm just going to hold down the right mouse button and kind of click around. We've got check-ins or we've got DYFI reports coming in New Zealand, Australia, the Philippines, across China, across the Arabian Sea, here in Africa, all over Europe that are coming in. If we move over into North America, I'm going to even come down here just a little bit because there's a DYFI report that was sent here in the South Pacific as well. Before we kind of zoom up here into the North America, we've got check-ins coming in from the Hawaiian Islands, Puerto Rico, out on the Windward Islands down here, Central America, all over Canada. And let's just zoom in a little bit more here into North America to see some of these check-ins that are coming in. It's really impressive to see. Now, again, all of these check-ins are coming in directly via Winlink. These are all radio operators that are sending these check-ins right now today. Now, I want to go in and look at the filters that I'm using, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can get a little bit more of a global view of this once more. I'm going to right-click and pan. Because I want you to be able to see some of just the built-in filtering capabilities that we have right here inside of Winlink. So up here in the upper left under filters, I'm going to click on the set filters option. And you can see right now, I'm only looking at reports that have come in the last 24 hours. If I only wanted to see the reports that have come in the last 1 hour, I can change that down to 1 and hit save. And instantly the map refreshes live. So it's showing us just those check-ins, just those DYFI reports that came in the last 1 hour. Let me go back up here to filters. I'm going to change that back to 24 hours. So we get all of the data displaying again. Down here, filter map by fields. There's a variety of different fields that we're able to sort by. And here in the bottom, you can see these are all of those questions, that ground proofing information. So one of the bits of information that we said, building a few large cracks in the walls. Well, let's see if anybody said that. We'll click on the drop down here next to ignore, and I'll say yes. And let's change the pin color for that. Let's change it to something, I don't know. Let's change it to orange and see if anybody anywhere in the world reported that there were a few large cracks in the walls. I'm going to hit the save button. And here there's a small grouping. You can see they're kind of clustered a little bit here in the European area, where stations that reported that they had large cracks in the walls. There's also a report here in the middle of the country, but not so much there. But we do have this weird cluster that's going on over here. So that might indicate that, hey, there is a difference in the intensity that was localized within a particular area. Let's come back here. I'm going to go back up here to the set filters. Now, I can continue to add more filters. Maybe I'm curious to see building permanently shifted off the foundation. Let's see if anybody said that. So we're going to change that one to yes. And let's change that color. We'll say maybe we'll make that red, and we'll see if anybody reported that anywhere. Doesn't look like anybody reported that. So instantly that filter is not showing. So nobody responded with that. Let me clear these settings here. There's a clear all option. Let's see if anybody reported cracks in their chimney. Let's come down here. We'll click the little drop down for that. And we'll say yes for that one. And then within the cracks in the chimney, my machine is slowing down a little bit, which means there's probably a bunch more messages coming in. I'm going to change that to orange again, and let's preview that, see if anybody reported. Nope, nobody reported cracks in their chimney. All right, let's come on back up here. Let's reset that filter. Did you hear any creaking noises? Let's click the drop-down menu for that, and we'll see if anybody reported a loud noise for that, and we'll make those pins red. Let's see, there should be quite a few of these. We'll say yes. And let's zoom in and find out, why am I not seeing? You know what? I'm going to close the map and reset this, because I've got a lot of data that's coming in. Let me reset my filter here. Oh, I set the wrong one. There we go. Let's change that one to red. Gotta make sure with the mouse you're setting on the right ones. So loud noises, one, is it set to red? We'll say yes, save. There we go. That's what we were hoping to see. So all of these DYFI reports all reported that they heard loud noises. Those intensities showed up as red. So with these basic tools that are just built into Winlink, you're able to go in and start mapping the information and exploring the data that's coming in. And again, this is real data, real-time data that's coming in only via Winlink. Now, there is a lot more data that's coming into the USGS. For anybody who filled out the DYFI form as a web-based form, used any of the various different apps, there's more data that's out there. But these data are just coming in exclusively via Winlink at this point. And it's really cool to be able to get access to large sections of data like this, to be able to explore. And again, now if we wanted to see for, there's the creaking noises, and then we can come up here and say, building large cracks in the walls. And we want to set that one to say orange. Let's see if we can get two things to show up here on this map. And we'll say yes. Now we can see that when you have multiple parameters, here's those that are showing up in red. Here's those that are showing up in orange, but there's some of these that are showing up now in white. A white indicates that it's multiple parameters that are all showing a positive for that. Now, you could do things with this, like you can save this map as a JPEG image and be able to say, put it up on a big display there at your emergency operations center. You can have these data that are kind of coming in. And again, this works across the board with all of the forms inside of Winlink that are mappable, which is a lot of them. So field situation reports, check-ins, all of that. These are real data that you're able to use within your organization to be able to find that information. You can also print the map as well right from here. So that's kind of a quick overview of some of the mapping capabilities that are built right into Winlink. Let me go ahead and close this.
Chris, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
You may not know, I don't. Can you map the Mercalli rating that each report gets when it's submitted?
That's a great question. Let me bring that back up here. Let's go back to the set filters. I'm going to clear all filters. And let's scroll down a little bit in here. Here's the exercise, hairline cracks. How did you react? Sender information, range, user type. It's probably in here. It's just, I'm not sure what the field is called. Source coordinates, sender range.
It might help, Chris, if you dropped your picture out.
Oh, that probably would be helpful. I'm not sure if we have anybody on the Winlink team who may know the answers to what that
that seems like a natural.
Yeah, it does. I'm not sure where that one is. There's the exercise ID, the event ID. I think this
that may not be it may not be captured.
Yeah, I don't think it is captured. This is DYFI report. Let's see if any of these have.
This earthquake report is a.
Oh, that's a exercise or real event.
Oh, okay.
Heavy appliances. I'll have to double check and see if that was in there. I'm not sure if any of the Winlink folks are here in the session with us. And I haven't been able to keep an eye on the chat. It's up on the list. Scroll up to, somebody's saying scroll up to E. All right, let me scroll up to the E section. That's exercise. Oh, estimated numerical value. There we go. Greater than a 4. Let's say let's say it's equal to a 5. We get all these options here. There we go. Equal to a 5. And we're going to make that, one purple. We'll say save. There we go. There are all of them that showed up as a 5. Now I can come back up here and go back to my filters. I'm going to come down here to the E's. My machine's running a little bit slow with all of the traffic that's coming into it. And let's change that to a 6. Let's see if anybody got a 6. There's a few people who got a 6. Look at that. And you can actually come in here, you can click on any of those reports and you can see all of the details that were filled out within that individual report right there, which is really cool. You have really good access to all of the data that comes in here. Let's say you had a data analysis person there in the EOC with you and you were receiving all of these forms. You can go ahead and close this map and you can get back here and you can say export form data. And you can limit the time on it. You can export that out as a TXT file, and all of the data that came in from that particular report could then be exported. You can then import that into other data analysis tools to be able to do further analysis. And again, this works not just on the DYFI report, but it also works on any of the mappable forms that are here inside of Winlink, which is most of them at this point. It's a really remarkable setup. Here in WaveTalkers, we usually use the check-in form, but there's also a field situation report, which is really commonly used across MCOM groups, kind of all over the place. And there's a variety of other hospital forms and all of the FEMA forms, all the ICS forms, all of those are all in here as well. So,
and a lot of groups have their own custom forms that they've made up.
Right. Yeah, I know here in Ventura County, we have our own custom check-in form that's been set up. So all of our operators go ahead and fill that out anytime we're checking into a net. And there's a bunch that you can get on winlink.org. You can go in there and download additional forms as well. Let's see. A couple of people have asked questions about, hey, you know what? I sent in my Winlink check-in, but I didn't send it in right at 10:19. Is that still going to count? Yeah, it is. So when you fill out the form, and when we went into it, again, let me go back to that form here. I'm just going to go to open up my forms, go to select template, click on the little plus sign here. And again, the forms are here inside of the USGS. section, USGS DYFI. If you want to use the Spanish form or the German form, those are available as well. I'll just double click on that English version of the form right here. Time of the earthquake. So you want to make sure, in order for your report to get added in, you're going to want to make sure that it's set to 10/19/2023, and the time, set that time manually to 10/19, and that's going to be your local time. It's not Zulu time or anything else like that. So just set it to your own local time. Here's that optional exercise ID. This is where you do want to make sure that you're adding 2023 ShakeOut to that. And after you fill out the entire form, here inside of the CC field, that's where you want to make sure you're adding Quake, capital QUAKE dash 23, and that gets you added into all of the Winlink specific data. As soon as you send that Winlink, send that DYFI report, it is going to go to the USGS, and it's going to get pulled with all of the USGS data. But these reports that are coming in that have that Quake-23, those are the ones that are showing up here on the map. And you can see they're just still steadily coming in. Already today, I've gotten more than 1,000 of these reports in from all over the world at this point.
And Chris, in an actual quake, all the information that you need, the event number and the time of the quake, if you just Google USGS earthquakes, you'll get a screen like what I'm showing right now. And if you click on the quake, it will come up on the screen, and you will notice in the URL at the top, it will say blah, 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 event page / I think it's NC, and then looks like a 7-digit number. That's your incident number or event ID that you need to put in that line underneath exercise or real event. And then the time of the quake will show up here. It's in UTC, so you'll have to convert it back to local time, but it's pretty easy to do that so that you have the correct time entered to file your report. And the goal on these in a real event is to get the reports in the first hour. They certainly will accept them after that, but it's that first hour that's really critical in them preparing the products that they release to the press and to different served agencies so they can start making decisions.
Thanks so much, Dan. Let me go ahead and bring everybody back up as we begin to wrap this up. Let me switch back over to my camera. We'll bring Dan back up to screen, and we'll bring there's David joining us as well. Hey, David. So that's pretty much ShakeOut for this year. David, I know you've been in some meetings. You've been doing the business thing for much of the time. What kind of things would you like to add to this here?
Well, actually, I joined just shortly after you started. I'm glad we were able to do this today. I'm glad to see that we had really great participation. I can't wait to get access to all the data. These are really great opportunities for us to show how amateur radio can serve the community, how we can step up in the event of disaster and provide that information. Again, Dan covered the donut hole and what happens when these events occur, and how there's blind spots, and that's typically where the biggest problems are. And gives us the opportunity, as long as everything's good to show. Was able to send in my my report, and I'm glad that I wasn't CC'd on the all the major traffic coming in. I was afraid, Chris, when you went to check your mail, you were going to get inundated by reports. I think a good overall exercise, and that's the thing that we need to do as amateur radio operators supporting our community. We need to get out, we need to test our gear, we need to try this stuff out. Having opportunities like this to have the bigger picture, a national, or maybe we even call this an international event, where folks can get involved is really huge. It shows the value and the benefit of what we can bring to the table. And I'm glad I was able to come and play along.
Thanks, David. Dan, any closing thoughts from you, and any feedback on how the exercise is going for your team there at ACS there in LA?
I haven't gotten anything additional. Like I say, we'll be doing a survey to follow up and see how well, but just the random sampling that I've done so far, everybody got the text very quickly. And I had 3 that bounced back. Winlink returned them. Don't know why. They all were AT&T. And so we'll have to look at whether that's a coincidence, or we have a lot of our members are AT&T or FirstNet subscribers. So we'll see if that's a coincidence or if there is something in that that URL that's a problem. The biggest thing is, to me, is this shows the power of Winlink. Here we are less than an hour into the event, although more if you include other time zones. But look at the number of responses that we got. And yes, this was an earthquake event, but it could be anything. It could be a weather event. It could be a terrorist event. This shows the power of amateur radio to provide that ground truth, that situational awareness that is so critical in determining how the response agencies make their plans. And nobody else can really provide what we do. And Winlink is such a great tool for this, with the added mapping. I mean, just what Chris showed, the ability to use filters to glean whatever information it is you want out of that. We've talked before about the field situation report and how, our Department of Water and Power guy can tap me on the shoulder and say, where's my water out? And I can go to the map and really quickly give him the response of 80, 100, 150 radio operators and give him a pretty good map of where his problems are. And that's just, to me, that's just incredibly powerful and useful. So I'm really glad to see that the map had so many entries, and particularly the international stuff is really astounding to me. We even had one from Africa. That's just, anybody who's tried to get Africa as a DX contact knows it's not always easy. So that's just awesome.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, I want to show 2 quick things that before we wrap this up and move into a little bit of an after party where we'll take some questions. I'm going to pull David and Dan down here for just a second, because before I want to show you the current version of the map, I want to give you a peek as to how some of the agencies are actually using some of these data. So I'm going to switch over here. This is a live view, and this is a tool that's being developed out of South Carolina, I believe, and it is taking some of these live data that's coming into a GIS system. This is one of the agencies that's receiving this Quake-23. So when these are, again, just the Winlink check-ins that are just the Winlink versions of these DYFI reports, and all of these data here, this is all live again. So we're able to kind of zoom in. Whoops, wait a minute. Let me escape out of that. I'm not sure why I just double clicked on that. Oh, because I'm in the wrong, got my mouse on the wrong screen. Sorry about that. So as I move my mouse over some of these, this is all live data. This is a map that can be kind of dragged around. I'll zoom out just a little bit. It's just a different view of the data. Now, this is a much more robust tool that has been developed using actual GIS tools. Let me see if I can zoom out and we can get a sense as to globally the number of reports that this system has been able to ingest, and you're able to see all of the data that's here. There's other tabs here with reporting data that's coming in that they're able to pull information, reporting metrics at various different times when those data are coming in. You can see most people are reporting a level 5 very quickly. That kind of jumps out at you. So if we were to go in and analyze using the Winlink tools, kind of moving through here, you can see all of those tools, all of those data summarized all in one spot for that. And you can get more sense. In this case, 498 check-ins out of this cluster has come in with that particular level and so forth. So some really exciting work that's being done around this. I want to quickly jump back over to the Winlink map. These are the Winlink check-ins as of right now that have all come in, or the Winlink versions of the DYFI. And again, if you go to the USGS website, you can find even more, because everyone else is that doesn't have access to amateur radio, doesn't have access to Winlink, are submitting their DYFIs via other methods. But these are just those that are coming in via Winlink. It really shows the power and the utility of this tool. So with that, if you're here inside of the Zoom, we're going to do a little after party for just a little while. We'll open up the mics and we'll take some questions from folks. If you would like to join us, if you're watching us on YouTube live right now, you can join us today in the Zoom. The URL is cq.wavetalkers.com/shakeout. Again, that's cq.wavetalkers.com/shakeout. And you're able to join us here in the Zoom, and we're going to open up the mics and take some questions for a little while. But with that, we'll say 7-3 to all of those who are watching us live. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for participating in ShakeOut 2023 and for sending in your DYFI reports. And so with that, have a good one, everyone, and we'll see everybody on Sunday for our regular show.